One of the challenges that people talk about is there aren't enough folks with the relevant prior experience. And if you're only going to be recruiting people into private company and corporate boards who've been on private company and corporate boards and or who are drawn from the private equity, venture capital, or intermediary banking consulting worlds, you're only fishing in a pool that looks like those pools look.
Oftentimes, the most difficult decisions and challenges facing an executive, a CEO, or board are questions and challenges where the answer is not clear. And if everyone in the room sees the question and the challenge the exact same way, it's highly unlikely that you're going to understand all of the different ways in which you can solve and crack that.
It's quite critical to avoiding groupthink and just helping to make sure that we stay on the cutting edge and remain innovative.
If there's one thing a board chair could do to ensure a diverse board going forward, it's to not only ensure that there are diverse candidates for current positions, but to work with their nominating committee to make sure that they're talking on a regular basis to other diverse candidates, even when there's not a position open.
The role of board diversity in today's business landscape is as relevant as it was before there was some pushback on this idea. Diverse teams make better decisions.
I don't know that there's ever been a point in time where there has been as much change happening at the same time in so many different dimensions.
We have business problems and companies in a very increasingly complex and difficult world these days. And we need our boards to be as strong and as diverse as possible, both to play offense and both to play defense.
If there was ever an opportunity to do it to leapfrog your competition or to make sure you don't fall behind, now is the time. And you're not going to do it thinking the same way with the same groups of people you've always done it with the same mindset. And the best and easiest ways to change it, the composition of the people you're on this journey with.
Having the diversity of thought around that table is what makes for a better company. We are not management. We are not there to operate the company. We are there for oversight and we are there for risk management. And so it's quite critical to avoiding groupthink and just helping to make sure that we stay on the cutting edge and remain innovative.
The only way you get the benefit of diversity in a boardroom or in an organization, if there's safe space, people understand and value that perspective and they create room for it. And also, if the person who's there understands the power of that perspective and they have to have the confidence to bring that to the table because that's why they're at the table.
Three words that I would say to describe someone who's truly board ready today is proven expertise and leadership, whether it's functional or in an industry, a strategic thinker and proven ability to add value to a company from a CEO perspective and a shareholder value perspective, and also a team player. Being on a board is a team sport, and it's about collaborating with both a management team and your other board members.
When I think about someone who is board ready, three things come to mind. Number one, they know their why they want to serve, what they have to offer to a board. Number two, they've given thought to their role, their lane, their perspectives, their board assets, and they're really clear about the value they bring to an organization. And then number three, they've thought about the organization that they're going to be passionate serving and working on behalf of. But I would just say wrapping around those three things is your ability to get to the balcony and look down and think about how you work with a CEO, an executive team to really grow and scale that organization, mitigate risk, and ultimately drive value for the owners of that company.
If I think about somebody who's truly board ready, I think that they need to be able to articulate what skills that they bring to the boardroom, and they need to be able to do that in a pretty succinct and efficient way. I think that they need to be able to demonstrate that they've been in a leadership capacity. Have they been a chair of some sort of group before? And can they also show that they can have conversations in a group in a very constructive and collegial manner? Because when you're in the boardroom, having these conversations, that is a really critical piece of being a director.
One of the challenges that people talk about is there aren't enough folks with the relevant prior experience. And if you're only going to be recruiting people into private company and corporate boards who've been on private company and corporate boards and or who are drawn from the private equity, venture capital, or intermediary banking consulting worlds, you're only fishing in a pool that looks like those pools look.
If your understanding of what's possible in terms of talent is limited to who you know, who's in your network, who's in your social club, you have already structurally limited the potential of your organization. This is not a pipeline problem. It's not a top of funnel problem. The talent's there. The people are out there. It's just that you don't know them. You're not connected to them. They're not in your networks.
When people have this concern about there not being enough of a pipeline, I don't feel that same way, because I think that that's just a matter of opening your aperture. Companies being just a little bit more open-minded to people with first-time board experience. And as long as they have the skills that you're looking for and they have the leadership qualities, then that is what matters.
If I had to say one thing a board chair could do to ensure diverse talent going forward, it would be to not only make sure that they're talking to diverse talent today for open positions, but ensuring that there's a pipeline. And that means that their nominating committee should be in an ongoing, regular dialogue with diverse candidates, even when there might not be a position open, because you never know what might happen. You never know when you might need someone. And also to get a sense of what is out there and how talented this pool is.
And part of what I'm excited for the Board Diversity Network is to make that network available to people who want access to talent and who need that diversity of perspective and experience, but they don't know how to connect with them, how to find them, how to sort through it. And that's a big part of the value of BDN.
The Board Diversity Network at HBS is a phenomenal architecture and platform and really marketplace to match supply and demand. We have this pool of incredibly talented candidates who are alumni across industries, across functions, and around the world. And then demand where people who are alums and even non-alums can come and access this talent.
It's not about finding people who have a lot of board experience per se. It's about finding people who have the right experience, the right perspectives that you need to solve a problem that's critical to your investment thesis. How do we scale this company? How do we mitigate risk? And the people who best know how to do that or who have a critical perspective, they may not sit on public company boards today, but they have very, very valuable expertise. And I think a big part of what BDN is doing is making the supply, that talent, board ready, equipping them with the skills they need so that when the opportunity shows up, we can really make that connection happen.
I think the Board Diversity Network is a powerful idea today, in part because the natural tendency of boards is to look within the existing networks of private equity firms and sponsors that they're familiar with. And if HBS can aggregate a tremendous global and diverse set of talents, not only in terms of demographics, but professional skill sets, industries, functions, that can be another pool from which private equity firms, venture capital firms can look to, that's phenomenal.
It's a pretty terrific resource because basically you're going to have access to a whole group of people who are board ready. You have Harvard-trained alumni. You have MBA who both have high IQ and EQ. You have people who are used to being in a setting for which they are used to having debate, and they are used to doing it, having conversations with people with diverse opinions and having a collegial conversation. And so that's pretty much exactly what happens in the boardroom. And so it's kind of a curated group of people as opposed to necessarily having to go out and hire a recruiting firm.